Hi everybody, welcome to this week's Planet Corydoras video. Today we're going to be talking about c.schultzei, which is also known to many people as the black Corydoras. Hello, Tim Adams here from Planet Corydoras. As I said, today we're going to be looking at c.schultzei. C.schultzei, many of you might not be aware of what this fish is. But it is a Corydoras in the lineage 7 and quite often referred to as a synonym of c.schultzei, also known as the bronze Corydoras, which you will see in nearly every fish shop. But schultzei is slightly different, and we'll go through some of its features shortly, but I'll be covering off some of the things around how we breed the fish, its parameters, but then also, most importantly, if you've seen those black Corydoras on lots of videos and been there thinking, what are those fish? Well, often they have the wrong names, and we're going to be talking about what they are because they're actually c.schultzei, and we'll explain that further in the video. But before then, let's talk about c.schultzei in general. So first of all, where does c.schultzei come from? Well, it's again, like most Corydoras, from the Amazon River Basin. Its exact locations aren't 100% sure. There's speculation that it comes from a specific location in Colombia, but there's been very difficult to nail that down. Now, first, when you look at c.schultzei, you'll see that the body form is very similar to that of c.schultzei, and that's why, obviously, they've been at some point sort of lumped into the same group. But for me personally, I suspect they are different, and only time will tell as more science and research is done. But when you look at the fish, the most distinguishing feature is along its shoulder, it has a short golden bar. Sort of a little bit like you see in a gold laser, but just much shorter. And that's the sort of telltale sign that you have a schultzei rather than just your standard Aeneas or bronze Corydoras. So yeah, definitely look out for them in the shop. Now, let's talk about the normal water parameters for this fish. It's pretty standard, as you'd imagine, as it comes from the same family as c.schultzei. You'll find that water temperatures are somewhere between 20 Celsius to about 25 Celsius, pH around about 7, GH and KH tend to stick around about 6. That makes them all quite a happy fish and reasonably an easy species to keep as well. Then when you think about tank setup itself, as always, as this is slightly a bigger fish, maybe up to 70 millimeters in size, that means you probably want something around a 40 litre as a minimum to house a group of 6. Remember the rule of 6, always trying to get 6 of the same Corydoras. Then let's talk about feeding of the fish. Like any other Corydoras, it is predominantly a protein-based food, and you will see in the description up to our website, which will tell you about some of the foods that I recommend, but just make sure they have high protein. Don't go feeding them algae wafers, and I'm also thinking more the sinking pellets, so they actually get down to the fish rather than letting all the other community tank members steal all the food. We have to make sure the Corydoras does get its food. Breeding of this fish, like any other Corydoras, we'll go through this on other videos, but feed them up nice, and so they get nice and big. You see the females ripen, and then initiate with a colder water change, drop the temperature by a couple of degrees, and then quite often you'll see spawning behaviour. So that sort of covers off. So you go, okay, it's a nice fish, a little bit different than your standard bronze, great. But then comes in this other little factor, the black Corydoras. Now, again, you might have seen these in videos, you might have even been lucky enough to see them in a shop. And quite often that's the problem, is they're labelled up in the shop incorrectly. They are quite often referred to as a Venezuelan Corydoras, and not to be confused with the Venezuelanus Corydoras, which is quite different. Some pictures here, as you can tell, and it's just some confusion that people thought that these originally came from Venezuela, which they don't. And so where do these come from? Why are they black? Well, they are just schultzei, and basically go back maybe 30 years ago, something along that sort of time scale. Someone was breeding standard schultzei, and they noticed within their fry a few were coming through black. And it was a characteristic which they like, and as a lot of people have done throughout history, they find a characteristic in an animal they like, they try to breed on that characteristic, so they try to keep it. And that's when really the black Corydoras was born. That individual then sold some of those fish onto some exporters in Europe, who then really bred them quite heavily, really established those traits, and that is what we generally see in the aquarium today. They are c.schultzei, the black form. Okay, so let's try and call them the right name, get away from this Venezuelan term which is completely inaccurate. So what I will touch on there, some people say, well, I know, I've heard that there is a black form. Well, there are reports that there are a black variation actually naturally in the wild. This is more related, we believe, to the Aeneas as like a local form. Very limited knowledge around that, and definitely not something you will see in the hobby. The only pictures I've seen have been very far and few between, but what you tend to be able to see is that a black c.schultzei will have a red sort of tinge or brown to their fins, whereas the wild form of a black Corydoras tends to be more of a grey, from what I can see. But that is very open to debate, and it even doesn't really tend to have a name even given to it, because it's yet to be documented by scientists. So that's very unlikely to be what you have in your tank. So please make sure that you're calling them what they actually are, schultzei black. So I hope that helps clear up and give you a little bit of history around it. The black variations, keep them just the same way as their cousins of the standard schultzei. A beautiful fish, as you can see, and I thoroughly recommend them. They look great in your tank. Just a very different looking species. So I hope you've enjoyed. Please like and subscribe to the video. It means a lot for us at the group. Please join us on our Facebook group, Planet Corydoras, and the website, planetcorydoras.com. And stay tuned, we'll be giving more videos. Please comment any videos you'd like to see, and I will make those for you as soon as I can. Take care and good fish keeping.